Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Alexandria Rayford. We told you yesterday about a break-in at a pot shop in Tacoma. Tonight we are continuing to follow a series of burglaries at pot shops across the state. Fatal car crashes are on the rise in Yakima and around the valley. It's almost time to set those clocks back an hour. This Sunday, you'll be gaining an extra hour of sleep, despite pushback from our state lawmakers. More and more solar projects are making their way to the valley, despite numerous concerns from county leaders. This market right here behind me on 4th and I Street is where police say the man grabbed the girl. Yeah, Jake, unfortunately, the driver and passenger that were in the red Mustang are now deceased. The way the current system works, deputies have to go in and scroll through frequencies depending on what area they're in. Now, as you can see, I've got on a hat, gloves, a scarf, and 3 layers. The barks that you're hearing right now are just from a few of the dogs here at the shelter. We've got a little stuffed minion here. We've got a little tea set some kids can enjoy. Members of the community left flowers, teddy bears, balloons, and candles for those students. One of YPD's patrol officers recognized a stolen vehicle at a nearby motel.
We are not bathing in our home anymore right now.
It's been 2 months since the Hyatt family found out their well is contaminated with PFAS from firefighting foam that has seeped through the ground from the Yakima Training Center. Since then, their daily lives have altered completely as they can no longer drink any of the water from their sinks. Instead, they have to use water the military's been supplying them.
You can't just go hop in your own shower and feel safe. You can't just put your own children in the bath and have a fun time in your own home and feel safe.
Brandy Hyatt says the family has been going to a local YMCA to take showers. This cost them around $1,200 for an annual membership, which they felt was necessary since the Yakima Training Center has previously said it could be 30 years before they have a permanent cleanup solution for these homeowners. Now, for most of us, we don't have to think twice when coming to the sink to brush our teeth. But for the Hyatt family, they have to remember to use these water bottles every day to rinse with. This is just a fraction of how PFAS has changed their daily lives.
The last few months, my brain's been remembering. I haven't used it since maybe 2 months ago.
Now, although the Department of Health says there is low exposure of PFAS from bathing, Hyatt says they'd rather not risk further exposing themselves, considering they've already consumed water from the well for years. Additionally, Hyatt says the YMCA membership has helped the kids adjust in a way that's fun for them. However, she's concerned about those families that can't afford to do the same thing.
I know that not everyone can afford to put filtration systems on their homes or buy memberships at the Y. So what are they left with? And where are the people helping those people? If I could do it, I would do it, you know, but of course we can't.
Our reporter Alexandria Rayford joins us now in studio. Now, Alexandra, you're the only journalist who's been let anywhere near this COVID unit. You had to put on all the gear to protect yourself. What was it like?
Well, Jake, it was really warm. Even as I stood beside the patient to interview him, I felt heated, and I had to step aside and sit down a couple times because the gear felt so overwhelming after a while.
You put it off, unfortunately, and then it's too late.
Nathan Wingeter, a Yakima local who loves to exercise, says he wishes he would have gotten the COVID-19 vaccine sooner rather than later.
You just never know when it's going to get you.
When Wingeter found out he had COVID last month, he went to the hospital but was sent home with oxygen. The next day, he found himself struggling to breathe after his oxygen levels fell. After getting dressed in a protective gown, gloves, and an N95 mask, I spoke to Wingeter about the moment his condition took a turn for the worse.
It just feels like you're suffocating because you can't get the air into your lungs. Every breath you take is like a fraction of what it should be.
Wingeter says he had planned on getting vaccinated but found himself putting it off for weeks, and says he planned to get it the day after he got sick when he fell ill with COVID. I spoke to Brett DeGrosselier, an RN that works on the COVID unit, who's seen COVID patients fight to survive as some slowly meet their deaths.
It's hard when someone passes away from COVID because they don't just die all of a sudden. They're suffocating for sometimes weeks at a time.
Wingeter urges people to get the vaccine since it could lower your chances of being hospitalized, as he plans on doing so once he is released.
I would recommend doing it as soon as possible because you just never know. That's how I thought. I was like, oh, I can do it next week or whatever. And then you get it out of the blue and it's too late.
Wingeter also told me he knew COVID was serious, but never thought things would get that bad for him since he was healthy and exercised frequently. And I've just learned he's been able to leave the hospital.
Alexandria, I know you spoke to neighbors there who are left terrified with all these unanswered questions.
Well, Jake, an incident like this is shocking on its own, but people in the area tell me it's even more shocking given how quiet it is around here. One man tells me he's now thinking how to be extra cautious at home to stay safe.
None of us saw that coming at all.
Last night, tragedy struck a local family. According to Union Gap Police, officers arrived to the 1100 block of Whatcom Street about an assault around 10:38 p.m. They say family members found 87-year-old Rafaela Guzman Navarro and 84-year-old Jose Navarro badly hurt and unconscious. Shortly after paramedics arrived, they pronounced the couple dead.
It definitely gives you the feeling that you have to watch your back a little more.
The mystery of what led up to this and who could have done it has people afraid and doubtful for their safety. People living in the area can't believe something this gruesome took place in their neighborhood. Cody McDougal, a father in the area, says he's lived here his whole life and never thought he'd hear about a murder happening just a few houses down.
You do come out here for that exact reason, to get away from that chaos, and so when stuff like this happens, it just kind of really lets you know that nowhere is impervious to it, you know.
McDougal adds he's now concerned about the safety of his grandmother, who lives right next to him in a house by herself, especially since he's heard from his neighbors the murder happened during a burglary, although this has not been confirmed by police as of now.
I had to go to my mom and, you know, tell her and the rest of my family, like, hey, lock things up, make sure things are tight. Even me, you know, like I normally wouldn't worry so much about it, but I had every lock bolted down just because, you know.
Again, I'm told that this is a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows each other and rarely anything ever happens. Also, I asked police earlier if a burglary took place at the home, and they have not gotten back to me as of yet. Jake.
Right, certainly many neighbors there wanting answers. Thank you very much, Alexandria.